Man, this content output, where, you're trying to be consistent, is a lot harder than I thought. I guess that explains why, if any of you happen to have stumbled across this video, who have seen my Antiqua Domus stuff on World Anvil, hello, it's me, the guy who wrote all that stuff. I hope you liked it. I know I haven't been super consistent with that. Although I do put out stuff, or at least I try to put out as much as I can, but yeah, certainly not consistent. Unfortunately, though, this time around, I can't really say that it was some other force or something like that. I'd say this is more like my fault. I'm just still not quite used to all this.
Also, I have a sneaking suspicion that if I was talking about someone else's work, then it'd probably get a bit more views. Maybe I'll do that someday. But for now, I just kind of want to talk about the other stuff.
In regards to scheduling, I'd say maybe every other week would be a better schedule rather than just random Saturdays or something. Then again, every so often I do want to just talk about things in general to do with writing or whatever. Anyways, so, welcome back for those who are returning, and for those who aren't, hello! I'm going to be talking about the world that I came up with type of stuff and see, if I could get some kind of an audience for it. So, returning to Antiqua Domus, we're going to be talking about, just some of the basics of the world and stuff like that. There's a few basic elements about this world that are important to note. The first is that the world itself is divided into 4 large sort of territories, or I guess subcontinents, since, Antiqua Domus is supposed to be some massive supercontinent. So yeah, there's 4 of these areas type of stuff. Well, technically 5, because there's the center part, but no one really lives there apart from monsters. And, each section has their own kind of, well, I would say civilization, more like large grouping of people, because a lot of the peoples within those places aren't really related to each other, but they live next door, so yeah. The other thing to note about the world, apart from just the general kind of mapping, although as of now I haven't fully figured out what the shape of the continent or exactly looks like, I've come up with some maps for certain regions, not so much the whole thing yet. I'm still working on that. The other thing to bring up is in regards to time frame type of stuff, where there's kind of 2 eras going on in regards to the world. One's called the first cycle, and the other's called the second cycle. Now, I actually kind of don't want to touch too much on the first cycle, because it's supposed to be kind of mystical and mysterious and archaic and stuff, but the second cycle is where basically most of the action that I've been writing about takes place in. And the second cycle is designated as the second cycle, with the arrival of humans showing up on the east, where apparently they just kind of sailed in from, and they quickly began to spread everywhere else, and developed in their own little separate cultures and heritages and yada yada yada. The other thing to keep in mind is in regards to this concept of a certain class of sentient beings kind of stuff, as in basically there's kind of 2 kinds of creatures that could have a intelligent level on par with humans. One, which could be called spiritual beings, and the other is calling soulless creatures. The main difference being is, well, one has a soul, and the other one doesn't. And this is sort of my way of explaining is the idea of, purely monstrous creatures, because personally I actually do kind of like the idea of just having a, creature, or kind of creature that is just pure malice and malicious kind of thing. But obviously, logically speaking, that doesn't really make full sense. So I figured that I think the soul kind of dynamic would basically be an equation. I'll explain what exactly, that causes a soul to allow for a being to be not just good or evil, but having that kind of choices, compared to soulless, which wouldn't allow for that. Some other time I explain that, but just know there's 2 kinds type of stuff, like humans, elves, and dwarves, and halflings, and other such creatures, have souls type of stuff, and they have, they can choose whether to do good and evil and stuff like that, but, like a person, complex and can't really be said as pure good or pure evil, compared to soulless creatures, which they're pretty much are just monsters, basically. And to be honest, I also do like the idea of putting more complexity in certain creatures as well. But again, for this story, I think I'd prefer, in this case, to just have some creatures that are just basically evil. Again, when I go into detail, I'll explain what I mean by evil, quote unquote. Okay, so I guess that's the other thing. And in regards to the other stuff, I feel like I should explain that in another video, because I think I feel like I've been part of the reason why it's been taking so long to get something is because I keep I would just want to keep talking about it, whatever. Just keep trying to talk about everything, and I can't get frickin' anything done. So, as I'm sure you've noticed. So I'm just gonna hold off for now. I would like to thank you guys for checking this stuff out. As you can tell, I'm very haphazardly getting into this, but I got one good superpower of mine, which is the more I do something, the better I get at it in time. Yeah. So, hopefully they'll kick in eventually. Yeah, thanks for watching, and, I'll see you around.